one of the most important aspects of your real estate business, your real estate investing, is going to be looking for comparable properties so that you can determine value of the subject property that you're looking at to either put in contract or put in contract and do a fix and flip or a buy and hold or wholesale or whatever you're going to do. Now, I've talked about this before. Even if you're wholesaling a property, you still need to understand what the value of that property is. And the only way truly to find the as-is condition of the property value, right? So in its as-is condition right now, what is the value of that property? The only way to truly find that is to start with the after repair value and reverse engineer into what the property would be worth if a cash investor like yourself or myself would purchase the property. So let's talk about a few things. First, let's talk about after repair value. After repair value, ARV, is the value of the property after you've repaired it. So when you're looking in a neighborhood and you're looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, that's 1,700 square feet. Let's just say that's basically our average avatar of a home. Then what we're looking at is the after repair value is on 3-bedroom, 2 baths that have a new roof, maybe updated windows, new kitchen, bathrooms, flooring. It doesn't necessarily have to be brand new to sell retail. It could be a year old, 2 years old. Maybe they did the air conditioning 5 years ago and the roof 4 years ago. Maybe the kitchen was 3 years ago. So it's still relatively, fixed up. And that's how we're looking at ARV, is after repair value, is we're only looking at properties that have been repaired. And we want to look at that price in the area, and that's what we look at our comparables for, is to determine what that price is. So after repair value is after we have done the repairs to the property. And now to look at comparable properties that have had repairs done and or a full rehab, there are a few rules that we want to follow. Rule number 1, you don't want to go, you want to look for apples to apples. Okay, that's the first thing, is so you don't want to necessarily look at properties that are townhomes when you're looking at a single family home. You can't look at condos if you're looking at townhomes or single family, vice versa. And the next thing is that we want to make sure, again, we're comparing apples to apples. So we're looking at 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet. We want to find things that are comparable. The comparable properties have to be comparable to that. It could be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that's 1,800 or 1,900 square feet. We just make a little bit of adjustments. It could also be a little bit smaller. If we could only find 4-bedroom, 2 baths instead of 3-bedroom, 2 baths, then we just have to understand we have to make an adjustment for that extra bedroom, just like an appraiser would do. So the next rule is that we want to make sure, again, with our apples to apples concept, is that we are looking at properties that have the similar year built. Now, they could be plus or minus a few years. One house could be built in 1980. The other house could be built in 1975 or 1985. But we want them to be comparable in age as well of year built. So we're looking for similar number of beds and baths, square footage, and year built. Now, this is also very important. How far of a range can we go to look at comparables? If there are no sales, in theory, you have to keep going until you find some comparable sales, even if it's in an adjacent neighborhood across, a major road or even highway. But most of the time, you can find your comparable sales within the same area. Now, this map that I have behind me, this is a map in Deerfield Beach. And we have a property that we're looking at right now that's in a certain section of Deerfield Beach. Now, I've done a couple of rehabs in the Deerfield area over the last year, but they're in different areas and different neighborhoods. And so that is also something else that you have to think about, because depending upon the neighborhood, it's also going to tell you a little bit more about the value, because maybe properties in that neighborhood, maybe they're closer to the water, maybe they're closer to a golf course. East of 95, west of 95. Sometimes those things do factor in. So one of the tips that I want to give you now is that you can look at the legal description of the property, and the legal description will generally have the subdivision that the property resides in. The property that we're looking at is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet, and it happens to reside in College Park. That's an area that is actually right here in Deerfield Beach, okay? And the problem is that a lot of the comparable properties that we're finding were here a little bit below that, which is not College Park. That's a different area. And at first look, we were like, oh, wow, 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses here. Just like our rehab projects that we were doing, we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that literally just went on the market today for $600,000, 1331 Southwest 8th Avenue. But it's in a different area. This is the College Park area of the subject property that we're looking to actually buy, to put in contract, and the values are a little bit lower there. A 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this lower neighborhood, and even adjacent from this, usually fetch anywhere from $500,000 to $600,000, really depending upon if they have a pool, don't have a pool, square footage, those kind of things. But in College Park, we're finding that the 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses that are literally just across this street right here, that those properties are actually fetching only about $350,000 to $370,000. So there's a big difference. There's a big discrepancy. Now, I don't know exactly necessarily why. Maybe that, with this neighborhood being south, it's a little bit closer to the water, maybe better access to the ocean or something, because we are only about a mile away from the ocean in Deerfield Beach. But it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what I took to the seller when I negotiated yesterday, we're still waiting on an answer, but when I negotiated with the seller yesterday and said, okay, these properties in College Park, this is what they're selling. Your property resides in College Park in this subdivision in Deerfield Beach, and your after repair value is only about $370,000. So we had to back it, down from there. Now, the last thing, as far as a rule goes for when you're looking at comparable properties, when you're trying to determine the value of your property, is that comparable properties, you really only want to go back 3 to 6 months in sales. Again, if nothing's sold in 3 to 6 months in the area of like College Park where I'm looking at now, then I'd have to go 12 months, maybe even 18 months or 24 months. In some neighborhoods, there are some places where you just won't have any recent sales. But that's the general rule. So to recap, our general rules for comparable properties is that, number one, we want to look apples to apples. Same beds, same bathrooms, comparable year built and square footage. Then we want to make sure that we're staying within a certain area. We don't want to ever go a half a mile away from our subject property if that subdivision is large enough, but if the subdivision is only a quarter mile in diameter, then you're only going to be able to really go out a quarter of a mile. And then the third is making sure that you have your property and the sale of the property was no more than 3 to 6 months. If you have to go back more than 3 to 6 months, then you can go up to 12 months. So there's some rules of thumb for you for when you're looking at comparable properties, but the most important thing, and nowadays and now this market, is making sure that you're staying in the right subdivision. And like I said, you can go to the legal description to find that information. So hope that helped you guys out in finding your next property and coming up with the right value so you can make the right offer on it. So from now until the next time that you guys are making an offer on a property, happy investing.